In Arakai, there are 6 major nations. Blaze, a land where the dragon clans reign and the fiery wizards scorch the earth. Primal, a place of great nature with giant beasts and shamans to maintain the balance, with other tribes lurking just beyond the treeline. Haven, singing angels and zealot priests call this home, with the overlording celestials ruling the domain. Astral, the outer worlds of space, hold many mysteries. The legendary creatures of the stars and futuristic machines dot the starscape. Tidal, the leviathans of the deep devour any who dare step into the waters. Only their neighboring fish and shelled allies can share this space, alongside the secretive wizards and creatures of water. Abyss, the decayed, rotten lands of the abyss where those who are dead often refuse to stay that way, with powerful demons seeking domination over the rest of the world. This is the Arakai Nation Breakdown. Astral, the nation of stars, space, and super big fuck-off robot suits, oh yeah! Regaining my composure, Astral is probably the most complex nation of the main 6, purely due to it using Exile. That's not to say it's a super complicated mechanic or anything, but it is something to keep in mind when going forward, and I think there is no better way to display this than with Mobius Dick, the boss monster of the star class of allies who, when invoked, exiles the top card of your deck and gains 1k for each exiled card until end of turn. Then, if you have 9 or more exiled cards, you can add Starstorm for your exile to your hand. Now, what is Starstorm? Well, it's a spell that for one expend can shuffle any restrained ally into the deck, so long as you have exile equal to double its level. These set the stage for the star half of the exile, which is that getting a large exile for your star archetype so you can trigger bonus effects of your allies. Now, while 9 may sound like a lot, I assure you in practice it is not so difficult. This is also true for their level 4, once every Century Descendant, who, when invoked, draws a hand card, then exiles 1, followed by shuffling a level 2 or lower restrained ally into the deck, so long as your exile is 8 or higher. I didn't mention it with the aforementioned whale, but shuffling into deck is about as permanent of removal as it gets, as not even Abyss can re-retrieve what's shuffled back without some luck, making this a very strong level 4 generically in the color of stockpiling exile. Aiding in your exile dreams is Black Hole Smith, a level 3 that exiles any star from the Lost area, aka any star card, not even allies only, to draw a card. This die is staple 3 of, and it's not hard to see why. Despite expending 1, going +1 on vote when doing your deck's exile gimmick makes him absolutely reliable no matter what point of the duel you're in, so don't let the low stat line fool you. For your level 2 slot, Red Giant has 14k power and simply says that any allies that are destroyed in play are exiled instead of being sent to Lost. This card is absolutely diabolical at removing pesky Breathless Shamblers, but outside of that matchup, its best use is getting extra stuff into your exile from your already dying allies, himself included. The other star level 2 is Photon Cardinal, who simply gains 6k power when your exile is 7 or more. Again, this might not sound easy, but in practice hitting 7 exile is pretty simple. I've seen this thing come live as early as turn 2 in games, so this is absolutely worth running. The final 2 stars are a pair of level 1s, Global Child, who simply gains 1 life and exiles the top card of your deck when invoked, and Pulsar Transmitter, who when invoked can swap a hand card for any star ally in your exile. From my experience, Transmitter is absolutely staple in a star strategy given his good stat line and versatile effect, or Child is okay, but as you'll soon see, there are better level 1s you can play instead. Before we transfer hard into Mecha, it's time to talk about the walking Tommy Wiseau reference, i.e. Lisa, Tommy, and Mark. The reason I bring these up here is because they are staple across any Astro deck, and that's because they're all super good. Lisa, when invoked, can search for any level 1 Mecha ally, or a Lily ally at no cost. Don't worry, we'll see her later. Mark can exile a hand card to draw a card, or draw 2 if you control Tommy, and Tommy, when invoked, simply exiles the bottom 2 cards of your deck at no cost. This package not only guarantees you some strong exile, consistency, and plussing, Lisa always does plus and Mark has potential too, making them strong choices for your card economy with Tommy benefiting your exile pile. But there is one missing piece, isn't there? Lilia Cyber Magnum is a level 4 Cyber Being with 23k power that can return any level 1 in play to the hand to draw a card. with the condition that she can't attack directly the turn this effect is used. On first glance, this might seem underwhelming, but notice the lack of the words opponents or restrained, and your eyes are sure to widen a little. Yes, this is one of the only cards in the game that is removable for engaged allies, and to bounce your own level 1s to reuse their abilities or just unclog your board, making her exceptionally versatile and arguably one of the best level 4s in the entire game, or at least in set 1. Well, we're finally out of that neck of the woods. Time to talk about big motherfucking robots, yeah! Ultimate Assault Braver Quantum Breaker is a big juicy level 5 that can shuffle 5 exiled cards into the deck to give your entire board 5k power and +1 level until end of turn. This happens once per turn due to its res effect, and this does include all allies, not just Mecha, not even just Astral, all allies. This effect is pretty nice, but sadly it really doesn't see that much play. And that's because there is a better level 5 mecha that is just more useful. Super Galaxy Soldier Brave Nova has the same condition as Quantum Breaker, but for those 5 shuffles, it can exile any restrained ally the opponent controls. Yup. Not destroying, not shuffling back, exile. So unless you're in a mirror match, that card is essentially gone forever. Not even a level restriction like good old Ignew over there. He is God's strongest removal, and honestly probably the strongest level 5 in set 1. Even after we eroded him, I'm hard-pressed to think of any level 5 that is simply this versatile and just generically useful, and getting 5 exile for his cost is very easy, making him easy to go-to Mecha ace monster. The level 4 slot is still really good for Mecha, having access to Cyber Arm Cannon, which can once per turn shuffle any number of exile cards into your deck to make any ally in play lose 2k power for each until end of turn. This again might sound underwhelming, but have you seen Mark defeat a Billbuster? I know I have, and this guy is the reason for that. This guy turns any big-sided guy in the opponent's field into an absolute joke, or even modulates it just a little bit to save valuable exile, making him crazy strong but also versatile for your deck. What, did you think the level 3 swap would be some shitty vanilla or something? Looking at you, Armored Dragon. No, you have Dimension Javelin at level 3 that, when invoked, while you control any other ally, draws 1 card and exiles the top card of your deck. Yep, he's another Astral card that goes +1 on invoke, because this color didn't have enough of that. Fortunately, his stats are dog water to compensate, but even with that, it's still considered an absolute staple in both Mecha and Star respectively. The power of drawing 1 card cannot be understated. Oh right, I almost forgot, Dimension Javelin's ugly cousin is Ultimate Charger that when he attacks can exile a card from either lost area. And that's all, folks! Jokes aside, he can be situationally useful at exiling Abyss cards to deny them resources, but every other color doesn't give a rat's ass about the lost area, so usually he just kinda exiles 1 from your lost before dying. I'm not joking when I'd say you'd rather just play Sonic Cyber, their level 3 vanilla. Level 2 makes up for this though with Great Bullet, who is the opposite of Cyber Arm, and that instead of weakening the opponent, he can shuffle cards into your deck in increments of 2 to gain 4k power for each cycle. This guy can reach some absolutely ridiculous stat values, relatively easily allowing him to plow over most level 3s and 4s with ease, and even 5s if you're crazy, so make sure to max out on it. Level 1 wise, you have Synchro Gatherer, who is not a Synchro monster from Yu-Gi-Oh!, but instead is a Mecha that exiles the top card of your deck for each Mecha when invoked. So that's essentially exile 3 if your board is full of robots, you run 3. And finally, you have Chrono Extractor, another goddamn +1 on legs. What's up with this? They exiles the top 2 cards of your deck when invoked and adds any Astral card from among them into your hand. Sure, he's not super splashable, but pure-wise, he's sure to never miss, outside of that one time it hit 2 recharge. Moving on to spells, you have Stargazing, Wildkeeping, and Dimensional Savage, which are all generic. Stargazing checks the top 3 of your deck, adds 1 to hand, and exiles another while leaving the 3rd on top. Wildkeeping unexpends 1 and draws a card if you have an Astral ally. And Salvage simply adds back any exiled card to your hand. Realistically, Stargazing and Wildkeeping are absolute staples, with Salvage being an okay tech option. Starfield of Astrologia is an aura that exiles 1 card from the top of your deck at the start of your turn. This card used to be fine back in the day, but nowadays it's just too slow to really get anything done, and the fact it's mandatory means it further screws you in the mill matchup. Sadly, this Starfield's days are burning out. Galactic Bounty is an honorary star spell in my eyes, as it exiles the top card of your deck to draw 1, then has 3 effects. 4 or more exile gives it the ability to exile again, 7 or more gives any ally 5k power this turn, and for 10 or more, exiles a hand card to add any card from exile to hand. This card is very strong in the Star deck, as you're probably going to be hitting 10 Exile anyways, and in the Meta deck it's fine, but probably not super ideal since you're going to be doing a lot of shuffling. What is generically useful for both, though, is Star Charge, which simply exiles 3 cards from the top of your deck at no cost. It's also a Star spell for your Black Hole Smith, making a strong turn 1 combo. It's the only hard neg one I can tolerate. Your other Star spell, Gift of the Stars, shuffles 2 exile into your deck, expends 1 spirit, draws 2 cards. Honestly, I personally find this better in splashes than pure, as Star doesn't really want to be shuffling a bunch of its exile back into the deck too often, and Meta has better cards that do that gimmick, so keep this in mind if you're splashing it into a different color. Temporal Halt is an in-archetype post field that also prevents all direct attacking the turn you fire it if your exile is 10 or more, so you play 3 in any Astral Splash. Our final 2 spells are Meta support in the form of Development Hainer, an aura that expends 1 spirit to draw a card when a Meta gets exiled. This card's sheer plussing cannot be understated. This spell goes super hard, especially when you draw a card every turn in Meta. Well, you do have to expend, I guess, but that doesn't really matter in Astral because they can super afford that, especially with their final spell, All Weapons Locked and Load, which has 3 effects that accumulate based on the number of cards shuffled into the deck from exile this turn. For 1, it gains 1 life, for 3, it unexpends a spirit, and for 5, it draws a card. The most realistic scenario is resolving any level 5 Mecha Boss or Cyber Arm / Great Bullet for 5 or more respectively, then triggering the condition all in one go for the best Upstart Goblin in the entire game. Personally, I find it absolutely crazy that the same nation has this and log keeping, putting all the other in-nation upstarts to shame in the process. Needless to say, it's a meta statement. Astral to me is a very strange beast. On one hand, their stats are pretty pitiful across the board, and while their high cost and their exiles seem bad individually, the reality is Astral is a well-oiled machine that churns through exile like it's nothing and really struggles for resources around its spend, making it a very solid color all around. It has some stinkers to be sure, but the overall core here is so powerful that it doesn't really matter. Regardless if you want to go in a Star direction or a Mecha one, you'll find your Astral Center to be powerful enough to carry you no matter how the meta shapes up. With the deck's only super concrete weakness being Mill, since all that exile off your deck makes it easy for Leviathans to eat the rest of it. It's ironic in a way. The very first video in this series is me talking about Mill as if it weren't that relevant, yet the final video is all about a nation that gets hard countered by Mill. It's nice in a way. But where does that leave us? Or leave me? We've talked about all 6 nations, so what's left? Is Arakai done? Hardly. There will be new sets going forward, and right now I've already uploaded an entire breakdown of set 2, and I'll be sure to do a similar video for each set as it's released. So stay tuned for that. But until then, I've been Shikabane, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.